tonight, we want to commence the practical communication that are germane to the success of our marriage relationship. Sometimes what we take for granted fundamentally affects us forever or almost forever. We said we are going to look at communication at the beginning of our relationship as it affects the relationship almost forever. And I divide it into two: the verbal communication before marriage and the non-verbal communication before marriage. As a linguist, and interestingly, I just taught dialectology this evening. There are about 10 our language with certain 10 factors. 3 of these 10 factors are natural and they affect our relationship. Number 1, age. The language of the baby, the toddler, who is just learning to speak, is certainly different from the language of the adolescent, is different certainly from the language of the adults. And the language of the adults is different from the language of the middle-aged person. The language of the middle-aged person is different from the language of the old person. And during all these milestones, certain things happen as a must, which we must respond to through communication. And our language at each stage of our development will fundamentally affect our relationship. So we have to age. When we were marrying, we had a language. We were just adults. When we grew in marriage, 10 years, 20 years, we started launching into middle age. Whatever we communicated before our marriage is 10, 15 years, we affect our relationship when we land into the next stage, the middle age. Whether we like it or not, an average couple will land into the middle age after 20 years of marriage, no matter how slow they are. Even if they married at age 20, if they marry for 20 years, they will be 40. And middle age certainly will set in by 40. Ordinarily, middle age set in earlier for certain people, for certain reasons. So our age progressively affects our language, and our language affects our communication, because we use language to communicate, and our communication fundamentally affects our relationship. Number 2, gender. Even if we are man and woman who are twins from the same mother, we find that the language of the man is different from the language of the woman. So if we don't understand this difference, we will always have problems. What we are as man or woman will change our language. When the woman is advancing in age, her language follows her. And then if care is not taken, we mismanage ourselves and cause trouble in our communication. Number three, which is also natural, migration. Man is created, لَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي كَبَدٍ. We have created man into toil and struggle. Man will struggle. It is hardly possible that somebody will be born in a village and he will live 60 years of his or her life in that village. It is not common. Nowadays, education will take us out, and then our migration to another place will make us forget our language from where we are coming, and then it will change our language to where we are staying. So migration affects our outlook in life and then also affects our language. Number four, education, which also affects our age, affects our gender relationship and attitude, affects us in terms of migration, fundamentally changes our language. Ordinary PhD changes the doctor from ordinary person to a special person. We jokingly call PhD permanent head damage. Yeah, when you have higher education, schooling is a program, and education is certainly a particularly peculiar programming. So education changes our language. If we marry when we had little education and we improve in education and attain higher level of education after marriage, our language will change, our communication will change, our relationship will change. Number five, politics. Any kind of politics, you have to engage the society, and then that politics, a politician is another name for a liar. A politician will change in his language. He does not say things exactly the way they are, except to some people. If your spouse is a politician, his language will change. If he wasn't a politician when you married him, his language will change when he becomes a politician. And your language is a reflection of your personality. So we have this problem. Politics changes our language. Number six, status, social status. If you put a 25-year-old on the throne of his forefathers, he must speak like an old man. Status, the role you play. If you are a firstborn, whether you're a male or a female, you cannot speak like your younger siblings. Your status, your social role affect your language, compels you to speak in a particular way. Number seven, social protest. I think we are number 9. Social protest will affect your language. If you are protesting certain things in the society, when you get back home, whether you discuss with your spouse or not, your communication at home will be affected. When you are not happy with certain things in society and you are protesting it, those things, your language will change fundamentally, and it will be very difficult for you to come back to normal, even if the social issues about which you are protesting are no more there. I don't want to go into example because I want to go straight later. Now, religion affects our language, and I want to stop here and use how religion affected our relationship. Religion is a non-rational behavior. And by this, I'm speaking like a professor now. I should explain non-rational. Non-rational is not the same thing as irrational. It means all issues in religion must not be rationalized. Every matter in religion must be taken on its face, and it must be taken as given. It must be accepted as absolute truth. It must not be varied. It must not be rejected. Now, when you misunderstand religion, it affects your language and affects your communication of your ideas, and it affects you continuously, almost forever. Now, there are three fundamental issues that affect us religiously before and at the commencement of marriage. Number one, we live a life of denial. Ideal. We don't want to talk about reality. Whereas the religion of Islam is pragmatic. It is a middle way religion. It does not insist on the ideal, and it does not insist on the reality. Allah says, كَذَلِكَ جَعَلْنَاكُمْ أُمَّةً وَسَطًا. That is why Allah has made you a justly balanced society. You are not extreme to the ideal, and you're not extreme to the reality. Now, the ideal is this. A girl should not experience intimacy before marriage. A boy must not experience intimacy before marriage. If a boy does that, we read in Surah An-Nur that the boy and the girl should be given 100 lashes. The lashes should be done without compassion. They should be beaten seriously. They should be beaten publicly to serve as deterrence to others. And the Prophet ﷺ says they should be sent out of the community for 1 year. Allah goes on to say they must marry each other. Ayah 26 of the surah now says, كَالْخَابِثُونَ لِلْخَابِثِينَ وَالْخَابِثُونَ لِلْخَابِثَاتِ وَالطَّيِّبَاتِ لِلطَّيِّبِينَ وَالطَّيِّبُونَ لِلطَّيِّبَاتِ أُولَٰئِكَ مُبَرَّؤُونَ مِمَّا يَقُولُونَ لَهُمْ مَغْفِرَةٌ وَرِزْقٌ كَرِيمٌ. Yeah, there are two meanings to this pairing. Al-Khab, Khabisun, Al-Khabisatu lil-Khabisin. The evil men for evil women. That's the first interpretation. That pure men for pure women. These are good people that are declared innocent of what they say about them. For them is forgiveness and noble provision. Second interpretation, evil words will come out of evil men. Evil, good words will be associated with good men. Either way, the subject here is zina. The zania for the zani. The evil man to marry the evil woman that he polluted. Meaning, nobody should marry a fornicator or a fornicatress. Let's go up and see where Allah says directly about it. Of course, we have read this surah before, that when they commit fornication, Ayah 3 says, Azani la yankihu ila zaniya aw mushrika. A fornicator must not marry anyone except the fornicatress. In an Islamic society, when a boy and a girl commit fornication, they marry. Or a mushrika. A fornicatress must not carry her fornication to an innocent man, except the boy she committed fornication with, or a mushriku. Allah says, وَأُرِمَ ذَلِكَ عَلَى الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. Allah forbids this for the believers. Allah forbids that a believer who commits fornication should go and marry another man. However, majority of us married after we had tasted it, after we had committed fornication. Here is where the midpoint of Islam comes in. We cannot accept the ideal to say, if Brother Abdullah finds that Sister Alima is not a virgin, Imam should not conduct nikah. We cannot say that. The solution is to belong to a pragmatic Muslim community that regards what we had done before we became conscious of Islam, before we know Islam in real sense. We regard whatever we have done in the past as jahiliyyah. We now ensure that our children do not suffer what we are going to suffer. Because if we don't, the tendency is for the innocent brother never to trust the now innocent sister who had committed fornication before she married him. Ordinarily, a man will not trust a woman who had cheapened herself, and whatever excuse the woman gives, since the man is not there, he takes it with a pinch of salt. He is not going to buy into it completely, except we fundamentally regard the past as jahiliyyah, igbaimo, a period of ignorance. Otherwise, any small thing that happens thereafter, the man will not forget. The man will not trust her. The man will flare up. If it is the man that had experience and deflower his wife, the wife hardly want to remind him, because the wife is quick to jump into conclusion that after all, he can marry 2, 3, 4 wives. After all, if we say, let us do the needful, he can fetch the girl with whom he committed fornication and marry her. But when he get committed fornication, she cannot repair it by going to marry the boy with whom she committed fornication. It is not possible, because this is a new relationship. So the weight of the burden of sin is heavier on the woman. There is no comment I want to make on this. This is Allah's will, and it is in our interest, so that she will be honored ideally by the man who deflowered her. Religion, like I said, is a non-rational behavior. You see, intimacy is body language, is non-verbal communication, and it is the deepest communication in human experience. Love is something between two hearts, and voice is an indication of love. The communication between two lovers is as loud, as deep as the love is. If the love is zero, lovers shout. At the point we are shouting on one another, the love has disappeared. The one that still loves keeps quiet. When the love gets to the deepest point, we talk with eyes and body. Almost every 8 out of 10 couples do not talk during copulation, do not talk during intimacy. Noisy intimacy, we are told, I stand to be corrected, noisy intimacy is very rare, and it belongs to few people. Not many people do this thing noisily. So, because love is communication between hearts. Now, a woman that has offered herself has communicated by nature that for an average woman, the only reason for intimacy is love. For the man, other reasons. A man does not go into intimacy only because of love. An average man will commit fornication, will commit adultery if he has the opportunity. If there is privacy and there is means, a man will commit adultery and seek forgiveness. But a woman must be compelled to commit adultery by poverty, by other things. An average woman does not want to commit adultery, but an average man may commit adultery and seek forgiveness. That is the way men and women are wired. Now, unconsciously, the man is aware of this, that whoever you committed fornication with must be your lover. And so, when we are married and we didn't discuss this, those of us who tried to discuss premarital sex life only asked whether the girl was a virgin, although it's a very crucial part of the communication. What should follow is your sexual preferences. What should follow is what you know about sex. And why? Because despite the fact that we live in denial, we have gone to school, we have read stupid books written by stupid people who told us that marriage is not all about sex. So we now say sex is not important. When we now go into the relationship, we have married, we are not enjoying sex, we start reacting, we start fighting. Yet, sex is secondary, sex is primary. So before marriage, you must discuss sex. Because of religious misunderstanding, because of malams, misdemeanor, promiscuity, and satanic tendency, almost every malam avoids any talk about sex, as if the prophet did not teach us sexuality in Islam. The only hadith that many malams know is that when you say, Madam, come here, and she says no, angels will cause the woman till daybreak. That's the only hadith many of them know. But it is wrong. It is wrong to the extent that you must know our preferences. You must know our capacity. You must know his capacity. You must know, tell him your own capacity so that we follow this up in our marriage relationship. I have many cases like that. The first funniest case when I was in Abeokuta was the case of sister that married, and for several days, the husband cannot go in because it was zina, it was haram. The sister agreed to marry, but sex is haram. So What were they teaching her in her alcohol? That marriage is half of your faith. You must complete the remaining half by marriage. Do nikah. She did nikah. But she was not told that what she did nikah for was to prevent fornication and do this thing in halal way. And for several days, they were denying it. They weren't going to discuss with anybody. Sister was not allowing brother to touch her. After all, he never touched her because of religious understanding. There was no romance. I'm coming to that next week, inshallah ta'ala. That was the first case that opened my eyes to the fact that there are many couples who deny themselves sex because they don't know that it is the ultimate. I also know of a few couples. There was a case of a couple that cannot have it because it is painful for the woman. The woman's thing is narrow and is structured in such a way that it is just pain. We applied everything physiologically. Well, Allah intervened. There are other cases. There are women who do not like kissing. And if the man likes to kiss and the woman does not like to kiss, there must be a way out of it. There are women who do not want to be touched at all. You want to do, just do, go. And she will close her eyes throughout. There are women who do not want to even see you. She must not see the husband. So there are other ways they must do it. Now, if we didn't communicate before we married, and we married, and this thing is happening, the man cannot afford another wife, and he cannot explain why he wants another wife, the man will eventually commit adultery. He will be having affairs. There are cases of women who must watch pornography before they can be turned on. There are cases of men who must also watch pornography before they could be turned on. All this should be discussed premarital so that you know what you are dealing with. But our religion was misunderstood. It must not be a subject to be mentioned premarital, because people will tell you that when you discuss this matter, you eventually commit fornication. It is haram. So we carry this liability into marriage, and then we begin to manage it. 10 years, 20 years, the woman is getting worse, the man is getting worse. Nobody is going to talk about it. The man marries second wife without telling her his preferences and his problem. The second wife continues to treat him the same way. He will marry third wife. So lack of basic communication, fundamental issues of marriage, intimacy is usually a cause of trouble. But when you want to discuss, it's like serving a meal. If you ask me, because I like poundy, you ask me to go and eat it inside the mortar, or you serve it with dirty plate, I mean, it may even put me off. I may not even eat it. When we want to communicate about sex, how do we communicate? It has to be give and take. It doesn't have to be, this is what I want, you don't want it, marriage does not happen. You can't talk like this because marriage has been destined 50,000 years before Allah created the heavens and the earth. So what can you do about it? You can only manage it if your spouse that Allah has destined for you does not meet your requirements. Before marriage, you can discuss that, Mr. Man, I cannot go on with this marriage because I want it every day, except when I'm menstruating. And I want it well. Can you make yourself available? Can you be strong enough? Can you take me along everywhere? Can you provide extra sexual activities that will satisfy my needs? Then we can discuss for the woman. Although, like I said, the burden is heavier on the woman. As for the man, if the woman cannot tolerate, accommodate your sexual needs, you can discuss pleasantly that how can you allow me to now marry a second wife? And if the agreement is solid, you don't need to explain to anybody why you're taking second wife. And if she says no, there is no point going ahead, because it's either you marry second wife, cause crisis in your life, and you won't be able to tell anybody what is causing the crisis, because we usually deny this thing because we have gone to school. Schools have told us that it is secondary. It is not all about sex. But then, whatever it is about leads to it or is an offshoot of it. If it is companionship, there's no way your companion will be in love with you. You love your companion, and there'll be no intimacy to capital. So if it is strong support, masculine support, guidance and counseling, financial support, there is no way a man will spend his money, spend his time, spend his knowledge for a woman without wanting to enjoy her. If he does not enjoy her, he looks for alternative. Everything leads to it. And if the woman enjoys the largesse of the man, she wants to be grateful. She wants to show appreciation. She wants to tell him that she appreciates and then she loves him. And then she can lure him into intimacy. So we are denying these things. We never communicated at all. And when we communicated wrongly. Just tell your spouse to be flatly that I will do this. Then you go ahead and do it. Then you create crisis for yourself. Or anytime you have issues with intimacy, you remind each other that after I've told you that I'm going to marry second wife. Or you tell the man that I could know before that you know be man. This will weaken him. This will continuously haunt him. And if he's not able to solve that problem, he's not going to create peace in that house. Even if you have discussed it and you continue to remind each other after unsuccessful intimacy, then it is not a good communication. But if you discuss it successfully premarital, then it should have led to how to manage the issue of intimacy post-marriage. The second aspect of it, which I want to just give you appetizer for, is body language, touch. Yes, we must understand religion perfectly. Therefore, we must not take the risk of touching each other premarital. You may get turned in and then commit fornication. But there are many ways of communicating romance. There are many ways of doing romance premarital, especially nowadays. But even in our own days, we used to write letters. In our own days, we used to give gifts. In our own days, we used to spend time together. If you never spent quality time together premarital, you were never talking premarital, you were never discussing your future premarital, you were never talking about your opinions, your preferences, what you like, what you don't like premarital, it will never happen post-marriage. We are going to discuss this very important matter, inshallah ta'ala, next week. The second part of premarital communication. It is romance. Today, I want to give you a reason why we must discuss it. This thing haunts couples today to the extent that when a man puts his hand in the neck of the wife, it is not romance. It is to know whether she has temperature. There are places a woman would like you to touch. And there are touches, even at those places, that will be as painful as using blade to tear her body. So we will discuss that communication, premarital romance, premarital non-verbal communication, as it affects post-marriage relationship. What I have said tonight is that we didn't discuss sex. We didn't discuss our worldview. We didn't discuss the kind of relationship we want. We shied away from it. We denied ourselves. We misunderstood religion. And so we do Sufi thing. Whereas, because we don't do these things, many of us believe that it is just the costume that makes your iman. And today, after Asri, a colleague told me a very bitter experience he had last week. He stayed late in school. He attempted to observe Maghrib in a makeshift masjid. It is just no window, it's just a door and roof. He caught a niqabi inside the mosque. They were not using the women wing. A malam and a niqabi were doing it right inside the mosque. When I said this, somebody said it frequently happens, and most of them are niqabi. So this lady is made to believe that the highest of her iman is to cover her face. But nobody assisted her about her private part. So a malam with bears on top of a niqabi inside masjid. You know, because nobody is talking about this. Parents must give their children sex education. They must discuss this thing premarital. And that is why we offered ourselves for premarital counseling. My daughter that is married, some weeks time had started a counseling session with me, although I have not heard the voice of her husband. May Allah give us the understanding. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم. I appreciate everybody that is here tonight. Adeleke Latif.
Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
Alhamdulillah. We appreciate you. May Allah appreciate you as well. These are naked truths. These are naked truths. We exhibit a lot of iman that is eventually affecting us. After our graduation, I will lay a foundation and I will ask a question later. It happened that a colleague narrated to us. They were not discussing like you have stated. And after the car, the first night, the man wanted to do like a man. The sister pushed the brother away. You know, the brother just fell and hit his back on the bed and had spinal cord injury. First night after this. So this is the damage that attitude that you have just described, that we exhibited, the damage it could cause. This is damage it could cause. Alhamdulillah, may Allah preserve you for good. Now, the question I want to ask, I don't know whether Prof is around Rosa Osman, but with whatever happens, so Imam can also assist me. Under the common law, there is a raging debate of spousal rape, marital rape. Raging debate. People are divided. Lawyers, scholars are divided as to whether a man can rape his wife. For instance, some of us hinge our argument on Section 6 of the Criminal Code that defines unlawful carnal knowledge. Unlawful carnal knowledge is what happens with another woman who is not your wife and who has not consented. So the argument is that your wife's marriage has given perpetual consent. The fact that you invited people during your marriage to witness and that there is a perpetual consent. So that once, with the definition in the criminal code, once somebody is your wife, having a carnal knowledge will not be rape. Once a woman is not your wife and she consents, it's not rape. So that is where I want to ask now that in the Sharia, what is the position? I didn't want to take our time about
yeah, thank you. Can you hear me?
I mentioned something similar. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, Doctor. Sheikh has answered that question last week. There is no family rape.
Maybe I was absent.
No, you were not there. There is nothing like that in the Sharia. Although the Prophet ﷺ encouraged us to have it sweet and to settle quarrel and to prevent the woman from not consenting. He gave the hadith that the woman that says no, angels will curse her throughout the night. The man can stay away from the woman that says no, but the man can also convince her to say yes. But for the man to have his way is not rape. By any sense, there is nothing like raping your wife. You can't rape your wife. You can only hurt her. Wallahu alam.
You are correct, sir. Even under the common law, what you can be.
Can we have Alhaji Brother Kalidayo?
Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Alaikum salam.
I want to thank you, sir, for joining today. I've been out for the past 2 weeks. I want to talk about the communication, sir.
Not rape.
Relative is talking.
Go on.
Okay, sir. The issue of communication, sir. The story of a man family that live with the brother-in-law. The brother-in-law observed that the brother's wife usually complaining about the performance of her husband, and he sees it in her. So, because you talk about that combination, hear from the woman angle. This shyness, I will talk about what I shall say to Peter, sir. This shyness of not talking, even with your spouse, is a problem. So the woman, the mother-in-law observed that the woman is not satisfied always. So he made sure that the brother was so available. He raped the wife of his brother. At a point, the woman was feeling uncomfortable, but the brother-in-law drove her to orgasm for the first time, sir. Drove her for the first time after how many years? And suddenly it becomes a normal thing. It became a normal thing. To the extent that all the day, the husband goes to know they have to divorce and the brother to run away. So the issue of intimacy is not something that men, yes, is part of us, but women pretend so much. Some people have married for the past 20 years. They are yet to know their husband. Their husband is yet to know them. Because everything is just gambling. They're gambling every day, last 20 years. The man doesn't know what the woman wants, what does she not want. She will not communicate. And they've never enjoyed sex in their life, even though they have had children. So, and I read in one area where Naisha is saying that shyness ends when a woman is now with her husband. That you are shy. A woman is shy. Once you get to her husband, that shyness is removed. And he said, blessed be the woman who removed shyness when it comes to intimacy with her husband. And drove her husband to enjoy herself and the husband enjoy her too. So I don't know. I think this area of communication between spouse should be, you have said it before, we are still going back to it, and I think it has to be both verbal and non-verbal. We need to sit down and talk. We are getting old. As we are growing, there are things that it's only for men that keep them going through this economic crunch period. These are things that people use to drive depression away. And if it's not there, you are creating more problems for them. Say, does he have money to now marry a second wife or a third wife? So a lot of things are happening, and we are hearing from people, and we see what is going on. May Allah survive for us. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam to jazakallah khairan ya Sheikh. Professor Nura Tolamide.
Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
Jazakallah khairan. Sir, I have a little contribution and then question. The contribution is on the issue of use of niqab and hijab these days. Sir, with the little experience I've had, I realized that it is not only Muslims that use niqab these days. And even some Muslims now prefer to use niqab anytime they have problem of identification. They don't want to be identified. They will decide to wear niqab. It happens once in camp, and eventually we had to remove the veil from the girl. Apart from that situation, I realized that even Christians now wear hijab to perpetrate evils. So my contribution that I now want to put up is that we as Muslims should educate our girls for them to know why they are using the hijab and what they should do that will make hijab become useless. Because what is the essence of hijab that you wear and you are fornicating? Which somebody that doesn't even cover, a Christian girl that doesn't even know what hijab is, will not do. So my own is just like an advice. We should call our girls down and let them realize that hijab is not just it's not just, it goes beyond that. That is the contribution I said I have. Then
Thank
as
you very
on,
much.
on the question, sir,
Yeah.
the issue of communication, I don't know, is there a way of enlightening couple on how to communicate, or let me say how, and probably why? Because in some situations, when it is you think you want to communicate, but you realize that this is a monologue. If it is a monologue, you talk, and all you hear is noted. Tomorrow I won't talk to such a person.
True.
And if I must talk to him, I will have concluded what I want to do before I will bring it out. When I'm communicating, I'm passing it as information, not request, which men hate. They want to be informed, not that you are. They want to be carried along, not just
Yeah.
giving back information to them. So I think if there are ways that couples should be educated on when and why to communicate.
Okay. Thank you very much, Prof. Let me attend to the chat room. I will answer your question, and I will call Professor Shitu only. Number one, if there was no premarital communication, there can be no post-marriage communication. What you carried from before you marry is what you take into your marriage. And let me tell you very frankly, when we get there, from next week, we will get there, inshallah. It's going to be a long talk, very long. It will enter January, inshallah. What you take, communication in marriage is like the takeoff of aircraft. What the aircraft takes off is what it will land with. If there is no proper takeoff, the aircraft cannot land well. So if there is no proper communication premarital, you can't be communicating. Let me say one thing, which we will discuss later, inshallah ta'ala. Communication especially for the man, during this critical 10 to 15 years of middle age, is like talking to a madman. Middle age syndrome is like madness. If the husband gets into middle age by age 35, he will not get out of it until 60, 65. And an average man does not come down until he becomes a grandpa, just like a young man that is a rascal cannot come down until he marries. When he marries and he starts having children, he will automatically come down. So the man does not come down until he becomes 60, 65. And if you have not been communicating before, you didn't communicate premarital, you didn't communicate first 10, 20 years, no, you find it difficult to communicate between 40 and 50. That's a crazy period. Now, between 50 and 60, that crazy 10 years, between 50 and 60, oh, the man is in trouble. He doesn't want to talk to anybody, because what he's thinking, he doesn't even want to talk to anyone about it, because he's in a serious problem. So when we get there, we know the details. So we cannot fight now. What I want us to understand is that our problem today is a carryover of our premarital communication. Wallahu ta'ala alam. Ms. Rahima is wondering whether she can have orgasm during rape. Number one, it is possible if she never enjoyed sex. And if her preference is a violent sex, so she will enjoy it because this is what she wants, and she never got it from her husband, so she will reach orgasm. Secondly, a woman that was complaining to the hearing of her husband's younger brother anyway wanted him. So it wasn't rape. The man may think he was raping her. The woman was not being raped. It was a mutual enjoyment. Now, those who are not experienced sexually, how do they know their sexual preferences? They have feelings now. They have sexual urge. If nothing turns them on, it means they are near frigid. If they never get turned on, it means they are frigid. If they hardly get turned on, it means they are near frigid. If they are frequently turned on, any small thing, a woman needs touch and sight, then voice. Voice, sight, and touch. If the touch does not happen, the sexual arousal may die on the way. But the man doesn't need sound. She doesn't need anybody to talk to him. What he sees kills him. So if a woman is not affected by the voice of the man, his hand, and the physical, if nothing in a man turns a woman on, then the woman is frigid. She should know. And if the woman is turned on, just when he listens to the voice, the masculine voice, the baritone voice of a man, she imagines how big he is. She imagines his broad chestedness. He imagines the muscles in his arms, and then she's there, emotionally. She will know. So there is no woman who does not know her own body. So this is one of the things we are complaining about, to pretend that because we don't have experience, we cannot know. No, we can know. What we don't have is knowledge, enlightenment. Women should explore their bodies. And today, it will be very strange for a woman to say she doesn't know all these things with all these media aids to it in abundance. May Allah save us. A case study. I cherish kissing, but my wife detests it most. And each time she ignores it, I feel I'm missing something. She even encouraged me to send this question. You must ask your wife why she doesn't want kissing. Sometimes a woman does not want kissing because it becomes nauseating for her. After a kiss, she develops nausea. She wants to, you know what I mean? So sometimes it is body odor. Sometimes it is mouth odor. Sometimes it is inexperience. It could be anything. There are many women who don't like kissing, but an average woman likes kissing. Kissing is natural. Men and women like kissing. But if there is no preference for it, there is no likeness for it, the woman should know why. And she should be able to boldly tell the husband, it is very dangerous not to like to be kissed. She ignores, I feel missing something. She even encouraged me to send this question. The marriage has taken a long time. Should I just take the situation as kadara, or it can be addressed? I've addressed it. It can be addressed. Talk it over. Talk it over. Madam should tell Oga why she doesn't like kissing. She's not alone, but sometimes it is health condition, and there may be other reasons. Wallahu alam. Professor Shitu, last comment. I have not seen the national coordinator. Professor.
Alhamdulillah, may Allah reward you, sir. And give you. Sir, I just want to comment on three things. And the first one is more of caution. nowadays we find everybody putting on khimar, and yeah, we are assuming that that's the best thing, kind of the best way of dressing. Unfortunately, we don't take care of the material used for this kind of khimar. Most of them they work naked, even inside khimar. I think we
And
need
we see
to
that
come out.
we see plenty of them in the north.
Okay, that's what I observe. Maybe those who are designer among our sisters should come up with something better. We cannot just see something else and just copy it like that. We have to look into the environment and come up with something that's better than what you are seeing outside there. It's not a measurement of human. We just have to get it right. And I read a case recently where an armed robber, where somebody divorced his wife because the wife was like enjoying the armed robber raping her. Because instead of complaining, she was like, she reached orgasm. The husband was like, what's wrong with you? And the woman later said that I never enjoyed this kind of thing before. Eventually, the man instead of the man to feel bad, he eventually divorced this woman. Instead of the man to feel kind of she has been cheating on his wife all this while. And the third one is the premarital talk. I equally met a brother that was telling me that he had a premarital sex due to the talk he heard from somebody who was telling him how he enjoys sex. Sometimes we need to a bit if we want to have our people to start talking about premarital thing, we should know this kind of people we are actually encouraging to go into it. Some young one may not able to hold themselves, and before you know it, they may end up committing. I just want you to also put a caution in terms of understanding the psychological, physiological of individual. Can you hold yourself if you are able to talk up to this length premaritally? That's just my contribution, sir. Jazakumullah khair.
Well, yeah, thank you very much, Prof. Yeah, we tried to give that cleavage during the talk, and thanks for your observation and then emphasis. As for your first point, in the north here, and I saw it in Saudi Arabia. I performed one umrah like that, and I saw it there. There are three types of khimar. The one you just described. The second one is the khimar that is just used to cover a, a jean wearing or miniskirt wearing girl. But when you remove that khimar, you see an Americana. You see a common girl, and then we have khimar only. Khimar only. No underwear, nothing. Just khimar. And they come to class like that. And once in a while, they even pull it off to let you see that there is nothing under. Apart from the transparent khimar, we are in the end of the world. May Allah save us from ourselves. I thank and appreciate everybody tonight. Let me mention 3-4 names. My sister Abdul Fatima, my daughter Rashida, Professor Abdulwasi Shonde. I appreciate all of you. Alaja and Alaja Bello, maybe it's a coincidence.
We appreciate you, sir.
My daughter Nasirat,
We enjoy you.
I appreciate all of you. Try to bring
Thank you,
more
sir.
people. Passionate.
Yes, I want to know.
Okay, now we máa pariwo.
I won't give you a down.
Òun ni ó ń dáhùn bẹ́ẹ̀.
I'll
Ẹ jẹ́ ẹ̀kọ́.
ẹjọ́ gbóhùn mọ́ mu àbẹ̀wò láriwo.
Bọ̀dá Ọ̀ṣun, ẹ má bínú o.
Nẹ́tíwọ̀kì ni.
I mistakenly muted Imam. Please, Imam, unmute yourself, sir. Please. I was trying to mute Brother Razak, and I mistakenly muted Imam. Please, Imam, unmute yourself, sir. I wanted to mute you, and I mistakenly muted Imam.
If the Imam is not there, can we close the session, please?
Okay.
The national coordinator, please close this session.
We thank Allah for tonight's session. We pray Almighty Allah to accept this as act of ibadah for us. We've learned something which we should be able to share with other members of our family, members of our school circle, and the Muslim in general. Let's be an advocate of good in the society. For more information about this particular session, we are inviting you to our annual Dawra, which is coming up on 23rd to 28th at Ibadan. May Almighty Allah make this accept this as act of ibadah for all. Jazakumullah khairan. You have a blessed night.